I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, May the 22nd, brought to you in part by Legacy Beef Cooperative. Join the cooperative and reserve your harvest spot for only $10 a head per year. The co-op is looking to get up and running here July the 1st. That's going to be about the time they're moving into the fourth section of investment there. So you want to get in there now while it's cheaper. For more information, get a hold of James Timmerman. I'm going to attach the video interview that I did with him several weeks ago. If you haven't watched it or you haven't paid attention to it, be sure and watch this at the conclusion of this Feeder Flash episode. For more information, go to legacybeefcoop.com. Fundamentals shake off pressure, and I love it when it does that. We've got pretty stiff technical pressure here, and you may not be able to see it by the live cattle futures. Live cattle futures have been just pretty steady here this week, haven't been pushing down on us too much, but the board is just wanting this cash market to fade. The reason that the live cattle can't go down and just crash is because they're running so far discount right now to the latest cash market that they really can't go any further than that. It makes people nervous that are on the that are trading in the market. They can't get it back up there to where it needs to be because it is a June contract, and hey, we're going to be in June here pretty quick. But with June live cattle ending the day on Wednesday at 214.15, and they're trading cattle at 230 in the northern plains. I mean, it's already about as low as it can go, but it would love to go lower. But your packers had to come out and buy cattle again and buy them at steady to higher prices. And I think I told you on a episode or two ago, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't steady to higher, and that's what it's going to be. These packers are just so desperate that they're having to pay up again, and the time of delivery was as much negotiated as the price. So they're wanting to continue to buy cattle out front, and then they most of the time they can't wait. They can't resist picking those cattle up, so they may buy them 2 to 4 weeks out, but they end up picking them up with within just a few days. But I bought a lot of cattle on Wednesday, and they are scheduled for a mid-June delivery or pickup, and we'll see if that lasts. Now they're going to use this holiday as a barrier to try to get around, and they're going to use that short week next week to try to set the market up, and they're going to try to use these cattle that were bought with time to try to stop this rally here. But they weren't able to do it yet this week. I guess they're going to put it off and try to do it maybe next week. But packers were paying right up for cattle. And there's one major packer in particular that seems unconcerned with the higher market. They just keep jumping the market. Now, maybe they're thinking that they've got a competitor out there that's in worse shape than they are, and they're thinking they're about to break them or punish them. But one in particular major out there just keeps jumping the market, and there's one reason that the market's been higher every week. But they did see some blood on the floor in North Platte, Nebraska. We've been looking forward to that for a long time. Sustainable Beef, the new beef processing facility out there, they did run a few head through to start testing out their facilities. And I mean, this is a brand new startup. We haven't seen a brand new startup for a long time. It's going to take a while to get the bugs out of it, so they'll bring a few in and they'll harvest them and work them through the system and see what they need to tweak on as they go forward. But glad to see Sustainable Beef get started at least. I bet they weren't thinking that margins were going to be quite as tight for the packer when they started building that thing as they are right now. But we wish them the absolute best of luck and hope they get right in there and get to fighting with them. Your feeder cattle index levels are fading. One reason is we're starting to see more plainer cattle. And I think I told you that within the last couple of weeks, that a lot of the cattle, the yearling feeders that come in, are going to be plainer types. And a lot of those producers that had them were waiting for the market to maybe stumble a little bit, or they thought they'd seen the extreme top, and they brought those cattle in. I mean, the cattle are all right to feed, but they're not going to gain like the higher genetic cattle, the single source type cattle. And so they're bringing more of them in, and it is steadily sucking this feeder cattle index lower. And I don't see it getting back over $300 for a while here. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures up 97 cents at 214.15. August was up 80 cents at 208.65. Your back months were up 22 cents to up 82, so a little bit friendly there, but the prices are still well below what our fed cattle are bringing. May feeder cattle up 30 cents at 296.30. That's just a little bit off of what our index levels are, and we're getting towards the end of May here, so they're going to have to meet up, so be watching it kind of back into a space parallel parking like. How about August down 107 at 296.42? Basically the same price as what your May contract is, but then your back months down 87 cents to down 132. Look at your grains. How about July corn up 6.5 cents a bushel? And corn's been starting to peak up a little bit. And I told you here over the last week or two that it's starting to get dry, serious dry in some places. Now the extreme northern plains, I did see up in North Dakota, they got some good rains up there, but there's a lot of places in Nebraska and even over in the Midwest and the Corn Belt where it's starting to get kind of dry. But corn is up 6.5 cents a bushel. It's been going up some, but closing on Wednesday at 461. July beans up 9 3/4 cents at 10.62 3/4. Hard red winter wheat for July up 4 1/4 cents a bushel at 5.40 1/2. Your fat cattle trade, and we did see it start taking shape, and likely we've already set the market at least in the northern plains, and it's going to be fully steady, if not a tick higher. Iowa sold 3,400 on Wednesday, with live prices in Iowa on a direct basis at 230. Now that was extreme top of last week. And dress sales at 360. That was extreme top of last week. I mean, just on a few head, and they sold several that way. So the market's better than it was last week. Nebraska sold 3,050 head on Wednesday. Live sales from 229 to 230, right up there at the extreme top of last week's price range. And check this, dress sales from 360 to 370. We haven't seen 370. That's brand new. Now, I did tell you that Gary Marks was thinking that some of those cattle that sold through the ring in Yankton on Tuesday sure appeared to be costing 370 in the meat just standing in the ring. He knows what he's talking about. Now they're giving 370 in the country for those cattle, and the packers are starting to step up slaughter a little bit, even though your choice box beef cutouts, they're higher, but they're still under 360. So I don't know if just because you see those prices that they're running red ink, there's a lot of things that they pull out of those carcasses that they get a premium for that aren't really taken into account whenever they're figuring those break evens there. But Kansas sold 350 head on Wednesday, and it was some premium type quality cattle. And Kansas has been wanting to trade with the northern feedlot areas for quite a while here now. Texas is dragging them down. Now only 350 head, but the Kansas live sales on Wednesday were from 224 to mostly 227. Now that's a foot higher than last week, but the Southern Plains I don't believe is going to trade that level. They did trade some cattle in Kansas on Tuesday at 219. If they get up in the low 220s in the Southern Plains, that would be a huge victory. But like I said, Kansas would like to see Texas, be down there by themselves. But Texas didn't have any negotiated sales confirmed on Wednesday. But we did have a couple fat cattle auctions to speak of. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota, 770 head, all classes of slaughter cattle for them. Conventional fed cattle sold steady to $4 higher, from $227 to $234, with program cattle selling $228.5 to $238, so still higher than what your direct sales are. Did see crossbred dairy steers and heifers selling from $223 to $231 in Worthing, South Dakota. I thought that was awfully good. How about Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota? 650 head of slaughter cattle for them. Conventional fed cattle in Watertown sell from $222 to $230. Program cattle from $227 to $237. Those fed cattle were $2 to $3 higher. Straight Holstein steers in Watertown from $196 to $206, and big fat fed cows from $155 to $165 in Watertown. So good fed cattle auctions there up in the northern plains. Box beef cutout values gained ground again, but not a lot on choice, and there's not a whole lot of select, so it doesn't make that much difference. But choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon were up 84 cents at $359.59. Selects up $3.32 at $348.28. Your slaughter gaining ground and looking pretty respectable here this week. 355,000 estimated cattle slaughter up through the first 3 days of the week. That is 16,000 better than this point a week ago, and only 4,000 less than this point a year ago. So the first decent week of slaughter we've seen for a while. Talk about what else is going on. Does anyone else besides me need a new pickup? I haven't had one since the cattle market was good the last time. So it's 11, 12 years old here, but they're going to be giving away a brand new pickup, and not a toy. I mean a truck like you guys want. A 2025 Chevy Duramax diesel, four-wheel drive crew cab at the South Dakota Cattlemen's Primetime Gala. So it's only $100 a ticket for the raffle ticket. Anybody, anywhere can buy a raffle ticket, and you do not have to be present to win. It's going to be posted, and you'll of course get a notice if you win. But they're going to have the drawing on June the 21st at the Primetime Gala in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The truck came from Billion Chevrolet there in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They're going to be using that money that they make from this raffle to benefit Feeding South Dakota, which feeds kids and families around the state that are really in need of it, but feeding them beef. But for more information and how to buy your tickets, I mean, $100, I mean, throw a few $100 on it, man. You might win you a pickup that you really want. PrimetimeGalaRaffle.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states from DVAuction at $297.11. That was down another $1.68. So it's just fading back, and we're having some pretty decent sized sales. It's just the bulk of them are plainer type cattle, and we're not seeing near as many 8-weight cattle bringing over $3 as what we were a couple of weeks ago. And if we didn't have Kimball, South Dakota on Tuesday, there wouldn't have been hardly any 8-weight cattle bringing over $3. They just had a whale of a sale on Tuesday. But your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 297.64. It's falling off too. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. They had a big one at El Reno, Oklahoma at OKC West. 12,700 head. They're a DVAuction broadcaster, guys, and man, they have big sales there. The feeder steers sold steady to $4 higher, and the feeder heifers sold $2 to $6 lower. That's telling me they've got some northern interests and some farmer feeders dipping down into central Oklahoma looking for some cattle to feed because they primarily only want to feed steers, and primarily only black steers. And so you see the heifers not selling as well as the steers when you see northern interest come down into Oklahoma there. Calves sold $10 to $15 lower, but most of the calves were plainer. Most of them were unweaned and unworked, and you're going to see that. But still, one hell of a sale. And it was your National Beefwire stick out sale of the day for Wednesday. And on Wednesday, they just sold the feeders, but they had 10,000 feeders on Wednesday. They sold the calves on Tuesday. But look at your best tested weights here on your automated market report through Cattle Market Central. You see 324 head of 6-weight steers, average 679 at 316.42. There was 986 head of the 7-weight steers. They averaged 758 at 302.54. 1,891 head of the 8-weight steers in El Reno, Oklahoma, averaged 852 with a weighted average price of 286.83. And 1,965 head of 9-weight steers at OKC West averaged 949 with a weighted average price of 272.34. Now look at your heifers. There was 1,118 head of 6-weight heifers. They averaged 650 on the button at 301.28. 1,467 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 759 at 275.54. And 856 head of the 8-weight heifers averaged 836 at 267.23. Give you some individual quotes from all around on Wednesday. How about Nevada Livestock Marketing in Fallon, Nevada? They had that special in conjunction with the regular sale on Wednesday. And then that bunch I was telling you about, the Tamara cattle come in, and of course they always sell so well. Included in there was 82 of those Tamara steers. They weighed 508 and bring 381 way out west in northern Nevada, guys. How about Hub City Livestock Auction in Aberdeen, South Dakota? 72 steers weighed 828, bring 307.50. They're one of the ones that did it. How about Decorah Sales Commission in Decorah, Iowa? Now they can sell them up there, guys. They got farmer feeders around there. And these cattle came in. They had an origin from western Nebraska, and there was 130 of them. They weighed 911 and bring 294.50. Big quote there. But what in the world is going on in Campbellsville, Kentucky? The most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, and your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Bluegrass Stockyards in Campbellsville. Now they can sell them there, but they just keep doing it every time they have a sale. I have to talk about them for a stick out quote. On Wednesday, they sold 65 steers through the ring there in Campbellsville, Kentucky. They weighed 812 pounds at 313 and a quarter. They can't get that in the shadow of a feed mill further west, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday. I'm Corbett Wall with this feeder flash feature. I'm going to be interviewing James Timmerman here with Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef. How are you doing, James?
Good. How are you doing, Corbett?
Now, this is the first time we've met, right?
That's correct.
But the Timmerman name is synonymous with top quality cattle feeding and top quality beef production, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it ties in with this new venture?
Yes. So my family is, like you said, in the cattle feeding, ranching business. All started with my grandfather in the mid-40s, moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and built a feed yard there to be closer to the stockyards. My dad and his brothers took over the family business and grew it in western Nebraska and eastern Colorado. And they themselves got involved in beef processing in the mid-90s. And so that family legacy really is expanded to 2 brothers and cousins who are in the cattle feeding business. And myself, I kind of chose a little different path and went into beef processing and was in the business for 25 years. And so it's kind of led me here to Legacy Beef Co-op.
So you got a lot of background in this industry. What drew you to Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef?
So I've heard about the project for the last few years and just got a little bit of information. We discussed the co-op model. I thought it was perfect for the industry at this time in kind of the development of beef processing. And so I really wanted to be part of the team, and kind of coincidence, they were needing some assistance with the co-op. And so then in October of 2024, I decided to join Legacy Beef and work on the project.
So last time we were interviewing Chad Tenninger, and you have become involved with him with this venture, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now he has experience in this, and he was telling us about the efficiencies that he's put into this new plant. Do you see these efficiencies and how they're going to help the success of this plant in the long run?
I really do, because a lot of the plants now being developed in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology is really really amplified to where it was, where there's a lot more robotics involved in the actual processing and the sorting of beef products, also in the storage, where it really helps reduce the labor needed for beef processing, which in turn, with labor being the biggest cost, reduce the cost and makes the plant much more efficient.
I see. James, can you give our audience just a kind of an overview of Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef, what we're talking about exactly?
Yes. So Legacy Beef Co-op is the co-op that producers will join and be members of. Cattlemen's Heritage is the beef processing plant being developed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. So the members of Legacy Beef will be equity members in Cattlemen's Heritage, and the equity we raise through the co-op, they will be 20% owners of Cattlemen's Heritage.
So what do you see valuable within the co-op model and eventually the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant?
What I like a lot about the co-op model is that it allows small to medium-sized cattle producers to be involved, one, in a co-op that helps them out in their operations. Plus, I think within the beef industry, I think we do need more producer involvement. So with this model, if you join the co-op and become a member of the co-op, you also have the opportunity to invest in Cattlemen's Heritage Beef as well. So you do have a little bit of equity into cattle and beef production.
So do you think ultimately this type of a model for the beef packing will help keep more smaller farmer feeders in business?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
And that's one thing that drew you to it.
That's really what draws me to it, is because I do think you hear a lot of stories being out in the country with small producers, anywhere from 2,500 head they feed to even up to 10,000, how they really are looking for better marketing opportunities and really more equitable arrangements compared to the larger feeders in the country.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the investment model with Legacy Beef Cooperative and where we're at within that?
So the overall investment, we have 5 rounds of investment. Currently, we have sold through the first 2 rounds, so we're in the 3rd round. To what we are currently in right now is what we're calling our seed round, which is giving you the opportunity to reserve your space or shackle space in the investment in Cattlemen's Heritage. So right now, to reserve a spot is $10 per head. We'll reserve a spot in the co-op and you become a member of the co-op. The share price we're currently at in round 3 for the equity investment in Cattlemen's Heritage is $175 per share per shackle space.
Okay. And that's gone up from the first and second.
Correct.
Right?
So it was started at 125 for the first round, 150 for the second. So right now 175, and then round 4 is 200 and round 5 is 225.
Okay.
So there are advantages in getting in currently.
Right. So, but to reserve your spot, you need to be invested in one of the rounds at least, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Now, is there a maximum or a minimum of your spots that you can reserve?
The minimum would be, we say there's no minimum, but the best really is one load. So we do have members who are buying 40 shares just for
Just
one
for a
load a
load of
year.
cattle?
Yes, and there is no maximum.
Okay. And that's annually. So if you bought 40, you could send one load of fed cattle into the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So you've got a key date coming up here this summer. Tell me about July 1st and what that's going to kick off.
That's correct, Corbett. On July 1st, we are really going to start the co-op on an operational basis. So we are going to start offering members marketing opportunities for the cattle that are part of the co-op. Also look at ways that we can help them on their purchasing power. And really what the goal with that co-op starting on July 1st is really to give the small to medium producers the same, put them on the same level playing field as the big feed yards.
I see. So these shares, once you purchase them, they're going to have value, right? And will you be able to market them among other shareholders?
Yes. So really, the way we have it structured is that per share that you purchase, you are obligated to deliver the animal. Then if you feel like you cannot make the delivery, then you do have the ability to lease those shares out to other members
Okay.
of the co-op that they can, you can have some value owning these shares and you can have cattle delivered on those shares.
We've seen something similar to this with U.S. premium beef in Kansas. So, and that those shares have become pretty valuable. Do you see that happening with this venture?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. What kind of cattle are we looking to harvest at Cattlemen's Heritage Beef? Do you have a target?
Currently, we don't have a specific target, but as most beef processors, we're looking for a high grade, high quality beef. But really, we're not going to specify exactly what we need to have delivered.
So, James, this whole venture has kind of been based off of marketing the cattle off of the dressed beef price rather than the live market or the way some of your big four packers price the cattle or purchase the cattle. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So we are looking for the pricing the cattle is using the USDA choice market as the base and plan on gridding the cattle with premiums and discounts based off USDA choice, which is different than buying them live or buying them just dressed beef.
Right. And the market's been really good, all-time record highs here posted within the last few months on every class of cattle that there is, but that's not going to last forever.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
we may be able to insulate some of these producers from the downside of this going forward, don't you think?
Yes, yes. We feel like, really with the pricing model we have in place for the cattle, it gives protection because you're going to be paid what the plant is selling you beef for. So you really get the true value of your beef.
I see. So you're basically going to be sharing more of the pie than what cattle feeders are used to, the way things have been set up, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yes.
So this is primarily set up for smaller feeders. Of course, a bigger feeder could get involved in it too. But how many cattle are we looking to harvest annually?
So annually, we're looking to harvest about 525,000 head annually. So 2,000 head a day on one shift per day.
So is that how many shares there's going to be put out then is 525,000
That's correct.
annually?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so all of those cattle. So you won't be having to get short of cattle and be looking for them. You'll know that they're coming. How will you schedule the cattle in?
The way I look at it is that really once you know your cattle are ready to come in, you need to call us. We'll schedule based on really first come, first serve. If you call, we'll put up if we know the week your cattle are ready, we'll schedule them. But we also will probably need to go out on the market some in certain months, especially in the summer,
Just to fill some
to
gaps.
fill in some
I
gaps.
see. Okay. Now, you're also looking at producers further in the line to maybe fill some of these gaps, and you've got a cow-calf program or a cow-calf producer program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So we are looking and visiting with cow-calf producers all throughout the country. And as you know, the market right now, they are selling their calves with a pretty good profit. But as we also know that the market there will be a downturn. So what we are really is targeting with cow-calf producers is that they become members of the co-op. They own the shares, so it really gives them a lot of flexibility based on the market. Either they can sell their calves like they currently are now, and then lease their shares out to the feeders who buy them. But then the cow calf would still get benefits of ownership in terms of delivery fees and equity. But they also gives them a little protection that if they want to retain ownership in their calves, they can feed them out and then have somewhere to go that will still give them a hedge and true value of what their carcasses are worth.
Right. So Legacy Beef Cooperative has pretty much all been set up to get the investment and get the core to get Cattlemen's Heritage Beef going, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have a time frame on Cattlemen's Heritage Beef when we think we would have that going and could start harvesting some cattle?
Currently, we are still scheduled to start groundbreaking towards the end of this year, which would it's a 2-year construction project, so probably the beginning of 2028. But as we explore market conditions, especially in the next few months, and look at heifer retention, we do also have the ability to delay a little bit and open when the market conditions seem more advantageous.
As tight as packer margins are right now, I wouldn't blame you by
Yes.
dragging your feet just a
No.
little bit. So might be better for the whole project if you do.
Yes, yes.
But it's just it's right on the horizon here. I mean, it'll be here before you know it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So of the 5 rounds of investment, we've made it through the first 2, and then we're working on the 3rd round. How much longer do you think it'll take to finish that up?
Well, our goal for the next round really is to have it completed by July 1st.
Okay.
And then move on to the next.
I see. So if we've got some listeners that are interested in investing into Legacy Beef Cooperative, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys and see what they want to do?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us is go to our website, which is www.legacybeefcoop.com, and there is a submission form where you can send us your information. You can email me directly at james@legacybeefcoop.com or call me at 531-375-6559.
Well, we're moving right along on this Legacy Beef Cooperative investment, and it won't be long before we're going to have groundbreaking on this Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant. It's an exciting new venture, the efficiencies we've talked about, and it was great to get to talk to you and learn more about this project.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad I could share it with you.
Until next time, I'm Corbett Wall with this Feeder Flash feature.